In the book of Jonah, we read of a prophet who was told to give a simple message to the wicked nation Nineveh. Yet 40 days and Nineveh will be overthrown. Nineveh then repents and God spares them. Jonah then gets upset with God and when asked why says, "I knew you were gracious, merciful, and slow to anger." In other words, he knew that there was a chance that Nineveh would seek God's mercy and receive it. His words of certain doom, which contain no unless clause, ended up not happening. He knew they were conditional. Now, let's go back in time to the days of Joseph, where we find another message from God in the form of 2 dreams being given to Pharaoh. When Joseph interprets them, first he says, "The dream of Pharaoh is one." Keep this in mind, the fact that the 2 dreams are one. After describing the 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine, he adds this caveat. This dream was doubled to Pharaoh because this thing is established by God and God will shortly bring it to pass. From this, we can see the following principle. In Hebraic thought, the doubling of something is done to make it true, certain, fixed, and established. There are many examples of this in Scripture, but let's look at one of the first ones. Speaking of the consequences of eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Yahuwah says, "In the day you eat of it, you will surely die." Very familiar scripture. Notice that the English doesn't just say, "You will die," but "You will surely die." The reason for this is found in the Hebrew. Here is what it literally says. "In the day you eat of it, to die, you do die." Notice the double expression. There was no wiggle room here, no exceptions, no provisions made to have the situation change. The doubling made it plain and simple. You eat the wrong fruit, you die. In most translations, you can tell when you are reading a doubled phrase like this when you see the words surely, or some translations will use the term certainly. Going back now to Joseph, we can see how he, being raised a Hebrew, was familiar with this concept. Because when he heard that there were 2 dreams, different, yet speaking of the same thing, he saw that as a sign that they were in fact one dream, and that the dream, as he said, was established by God, certain to come to pass. There was nothing man could do, in other words, to stop it. In the case of Jonah, his prophecy was not given in that way, which made it conditional. And he also being, as well, of the nation of Israel, he knew it as well. This should help with anyone trying to understand why seemingly certain statements, such as the 40 days and you'll be destroyed statement given by Jonah, were not that at all. They're not certain in and of themselves. Many of them are conditional. But we don't have to guess. You see, the key to knowing which are definitive and which are conditional, one of the ways to determine that is found right in the Hebrew language. When you see that doubling, if you were to go back in the Hebrew, or looking at an English translation, if you see that word certainly or something to that effect, you can go to your scripture, and if you are able to look at Hebrew, you can go back to the Hebrew to verify, and if you see that doubling, you can be sure that this is a statement with no way out. If it's going to happen, and it says it's going to happen, nothing will stop it. Our Father, by the way, made sure that this principle was known, for He even had it written in His Torah, "At the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every matter be established." Until next time, Shalom.